Mr. President, the Senate notes that the latest #EndSARS protest, which has assumed a global dimension, began on the 3rd of October 2020, when the video of a SARS officer who allegedly shot a young Nigerian in Nuheli, Delta State, surfaced online. Worried that despite the disbandment of SARS unit by the Inspector General of Police, Mohamedou Adamu, and the promise of implementing the demands of the protesters towards reforming the police and ending brutality, the address by President Muhammadu Buhari on October 10, 2020, and the appeal of the Senate President, distinguished Senator Ahmad Lawan, to the protesters, the protests have increased in intensity and violence, with socio-economic activities paralyzed across Nigeria, with some compatriots allegedly losing their lives in the ensuing melee. Further worried that the protests have now grown beyond the initial agitation to #EndSARS and #End Police Brutality, to include the demands for good governance, accountability of government, reforms of key governmental institutions like INEC, judiciary, health, power, amongst others, and accepts that as political leaders, we must take responsibility of protecting, providing succor, and guiding our youth. We therefore must address the issues of placing appropriate policies that ensure economic growth, wealth creation, and employment generation, and put them on the front burner. The Senate accordingly resolves to: 1, urge all tiers of government to put in place and sustain policies and programs of socioeconomic reforms that raise the standard and quality of life of our people, particularly youths who are the leaders of our tomorrow. Call upon the police and other security agencies to operate strictly in accordance with the rules of engagement appropriate to a democratic environment that abjures the use of aggressive and brutal force against peaceful protesters. 3, urge the Inspector General of Police to ensure a holistic, comprehensive reforms of the police to include the overhaul of welfare. The barracks are in very bad shape. They must be up to living standards, modern living standards. Training and medical insurance of all members of the Nigerian police force. Appeal to all Nigerians to resort to use of legal and institutional channels of resolving conflicts and disputes, instead of misusing security agencies to secure undue advantages. Urge the Nigerian youths and Nigerian citizens to approach the National Assembly committees on constitutional reforms and other committees, relevant committees, in order to secure far-reaching, holistic amendments that are vital to the restructuring and reshaping of our federation to make it an inclusive and viable polity. 6, urge the federal government to faithfully and comprehensively implement all the 5 demands of the EndSARS movement and protesters with necessary timelines to rekindle confidence in governance. 7, appeal to EndSARS movement and our protesters, our families out there, our youths, our children, to kindly, in the interest of everyone, suspend their actions and embrace genuine dialogue in order to give government time and space to meet with their demands. Mr. President, I so submit.
Prayer 1, urge all tiers of government to put in place and sustain policies and programs of socio-economic reforms that raise the standard and quality of life of our people, particularly youth who are leaders of tomorrow. Those in favor of prayer 1, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Prayer 2, call upon the police and other security agencies to operate strictly in accordance with the rules of engagement appropriate to a democratic environment that abjures the use of aggressive and brutal force against peaceful protesters. Those in support of this prayer say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Prayer 3, urge the Inspector General of Police to ensure a holistic, comprehensive reforms of the police to include the overhaul of the welfare, training, and medical insurance of all members of the Nigeria Police Force. Those in favor of Prayer 3, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Prayer 4, appeal to all Nigerians to resort to use of legal and institutional channels of resolving conflicts and disputes instead of misusing security agencies to secure undue advantages. Those in favor of this prayer, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Prayer 5, urge the Nigerian youth and the Nigerian citizens to approach the National Assembly committees on constitutional reforms in order to secure far-reaching and holistic amendments that are vital to the restructuring and reshaping of federation to make it an inclusive and viable polity. Those in favor of this prayer, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Prayer 6, urge the federal government to faithfully and comprehensively implement all the 5 demands of the End SARS movement and protesters with necessary timelines to rekindle confidence in government. Those in favor.